Back with the Fox News alert. Iran launching new waves of missiles towards Israel as the regime threatens American interest in the region. Let's break down what Iran has fired at Israel this week and exactly where U.S. troops are located in the Middle East. First, let's look at the missile attacks that have happened. You can see they're averaging about 30 a day. It started with more. They've got 2,000 to 3,000. We don't know exactly how many, but they're saying about the same average here at 30. They're going a little higher, upwards of 40 on the 14th and the 16th. And then, as you see, it's starting to come down a little bit. But even as it comes down, even on the smallest missile launch of days, yesterday they hit a civilian hospital that we have been showing you. Now, let me just move to this because we got to talk about the actual missiles they're firing. And you can see on this graph really the region. And of course, you've got Tehran here. Israel is over here. But then, of course, Gulf states down here where a lot of our U.S. interests are. And you look at the range of them from 500 kilometers all the way out to 2,000. They have a lot of short-range missiles. Often the Fatahs you'll see fired out here, but it is the Shahabs that can really go wide. That is of great concern. And then lastly, let me just go back to, as we showed you that range of 2,000, obviously all of this is in there to include Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, in Kuwait, Ali Al Salim, been a long-time air base for us, a lot of our assets there, along with the deep water port in Bahrain. That is a very sensitive situation. The Fifth Fleet calls that home. That is the threat picture as we wait to find out exactly what President Trump will do. Brian?
Yep, within 2 weeks. So let's bring in General Jack Keane Griff. He's retired four-star general, Institute of Study of Wars, a must-read every day. General, your thoughts, first off, on the decrease in the number of ballistic missiles that Iran's been sending to Israel. Are they running out?
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, it started on the 14th, and if you just look at it in 24-hour periods, 200 on the 14th, then 105 the next day, then 65 the next day, then 35, then 30. And now I think in the last 24 hours, we're down to single digits. So there's no doubt that I think they are withdrawing some missiles and don't intend to use them in the event that the United States attacks, and they may be thinking of retaliation against us. That's a possibility. But there's no doubt that two things are happening. The Israelis are destroying their mobile missile launchers, and that's a tough target.
About 70?
Yeah, they started with 320. And they got more than half of them gone. They've hit their ballistic missile stockpiles. So the majority of the ballistic missiles are now gone. And that obviously is a good thing. And, of course, they're killing them as they're flying into Israel itself. This is the only offensive weapon they really have. Right. They're flying drones, but they're not effective whatsoever.
So when you look at the waiting period that the president said, give me 2 more weeks, you got to think that each day that goes by with this pace of them shooting rockets and Israel taking out the launchers, it makes our troops a little bit safer. It makes it a little bit harder to think that they're going to hit some of our assets in the region. Maybe we could put up a map that shows where we have troops located.
Yeah. Well, they can range, if they can range Israel, they can range our bases, in the Gulf region. But I mean, I think there's a way to handle this, and I'm sure the president and his team have thought through this thing. If we're going to help at Fordow, because the Israelis have asked us to help finish this nuclear enterprise off once and for all, and I certainly think we should do that if they've asked for that help.
We've hit 12 sites already.
Yeah,
Israel has.
The nuclear enterprise is vast, and you covered it earlier. It's very redundant. It's resilient. Multiple sites, centrifuges, so you can spin up enriched uranium, multiple sites enriched uranium. They did that, to survive. The Ayatollah going into this, and the reason why he has never made a deal is because he had built an enterprise to survive an attack. Mm-hmm. And he believes they can absorb the attack, survive it, recover it, and then rebuild. That is where this guy is. And I don't see him in the near term making a deal here whatsoever. I think after we take his enterprise down, his whole enterprise down, look at the Israelis have destroyed all 70 of their air defense batteries, all of them. Air Force, gone. As we mentioned, the 12 nuclear sites damaged or destroyed. We finish off Fordow itself. And then Leadership decapitated, military and nuclear scientists. Now they can recover nuclear scientists, but in the near term, major problem. And here's the other thing. Look at the isolation that Iran actually has, Brian. The proxies in the region, particularly Hezbollah, was organized to defend Iran against Israel. That is why they invested billions and billions in dollars, 150,000 rockets, a force of 60, 70,000 capable of fighting. They were in Syria as a ground force. How much have they fired since the war began? Nothing. They have thousands of missiles. Why haven't they fired? They have lost their political will. They are done.
Do you think
Hamas can't do anything. The other proxies haven't done anything. Where is Russia and China? They could obviously assist Iran here. They have missiles.
Right.
They're not. This regime is isolated. The proxies see it. I think the strategic partners see it. We are looking at the end here.
Do you believe the president should green light a Fordo hit using the bunker busters?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think it'll be effective? Do you worry at all about it being able to wipe it out?
I think there's challenges when you go in 300 feet for sure at the bottom of a mountain. We've never actually done that. That doesn't mean you don't do it. I mean, Normandy was 50-50. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't do it. The alternative, I think, is unacceptable.
Do you believe that the president's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of Defense, DNI, do you believe they're advising him to do this?
I would suspect they are. If they asked, what they do is they lay out options and then the risk associated with everything. And then the president would ask, what's your recommendation? Now, listen, let me tell you something. This Eric Kurilla, who's the CENTCOM commander, that's been here a number of years, he's one of the best we have ever had in uniform as an operational commander. This guy has got his act together, and he is steady as can be.
Does the president trust him?
Oh, absolutely. When he was working for Joe Biden and they had attacked us over 350 times in Iraq and Syria over the 4-year period, just listen to what I just said to you.
Right.
And he wanted to respond. He made recommendations to the president. He gave them a target list of 120. He didn't want to hit the proxies that were hitting us. He wanted to hit Iran to shut it down. And they never gave him permission. He's got a president now
that will listen.
Who's listening.
Call him the gorilla. I just want to tell you that in the New York Times today, a short time ago, Iran rejects Trump's call for surrender in war with Israel.
Predictable. I mean, he wants to survive the one thing I would say about the strike, the way to handle the strike, get the message to the Ayatollah. Mr. Ayatollah, we are conducting an air strike to support Israel's war.
Right.
And you know the reason why. And it's a one-off strike. We're not doing anything else. If you retaliate against us, then all bets are off. We're going to come for you with consequential force. And that would put his existence and his regime on the table.
I hope the president's watching because that's fantastic advice. Back in a moment. Thanks, General. We'll talk to you in an hour.
Got it.
All right, we got a Fox News alert. President Trump is preparing for an intelligence briefing with his national security team at 11 o'clock in the Oval Office. It comes as a senior Iranian official says they will reject any deal with zero enrichment and will not surrender. Let's bring in 4-star General Jack Keane, Institute of Study of War. General, your take, what would you say right now if the president said, I need you in the Oval Office to talk to me about what my options are? What would you emphasize?
Yeah, well, a few things. I think, first of all, I think he's had 4 or 5 meetings on this, and we certainly don't know, where he is on all of those meetings. But I think from the policy perspective, from when you look at it, from Marco Rubio's responsibilities, this is a huge strategic opportunity here that we haven't had in 45 years. We're talking about removing and ending Iran as being the #1 adversary that has dominated the region in terms of instability. They've been at this for 45 years. And as you pointed out to our audience here, the history of killing Americans during that time frame is very significant. But their overall behavior. So as a result of diminishing this regime, taking away its nuclear capability, taking away much of its military capability, weakening it politically, isolating it for the first time, as we mentioned in the last hour. I mean, the proxies aren't helping them.
Right.
I mean,
their allies aren't helping them.
And China and Russia are not helping them. And they funded Hezbollah billions of dollars for one reason only. Yes, to do state-sponsored terrorism, and they were the best at it in the business. But number two, and the primary reason, was to defend Iran in the event of a war with Israel, and they haven't fired a shot. They lost the political will. So what that presents to us is our contribution here to end this. After all, this is Israel's war.
Right.
And we're going to help end it and end the domination of the Iranian regime. That is a paradigm shift that will reset the Middle East for years to come. And it will likely be a catalyst for what we want to see, which is normalization of the other countries in the region with Israel, the so-called Abraham Accords. That will put us on a pathway for that.
It will loosen the grip that Iran has on Iraq, which will be unbelievable. It's a subtle gain. In Syria, because Hezbollah was not backed by Russia and was so diminished by Israel, it allowed Syria to get a new government that is not allied with Iran and not allied with Russia, who we were beginning to see if we could work with. They certainly are not bombing us, and they said that they'll deal with Israel. So that's one of the ripple effects. But here, by the way, let's just take a look at our assets in the region. And maybe you, sit there, if you were in a military briefing right now, this is where our troops are based. And this is what worries the president arguably most, is because they could be targets. So if you can't go get a U.S. assets or an aircraft carrier, maybe you can get 2,500, start down to the 2,500 in Iraq or the 400 in Syria. What worries you the most there, or who's the most susceptible?
Well, I think, and the history is evidence of it, the easiest target for the Iranians to hit because of proximity is right there in Iraq. And that's what they did when we killed Qasem Soleimani. Look, the other thing...
We have missile defense there, right? We have some Patriots.
We do. But, I mean, they can fly drones and other things at it. And the president may also be waiting to get this second carrier strike group in the area. I think a few days ago they said it was about a week out, so it's probably several more days of transit to get them on station. Not so much to protect the troops that are there, because I think we have sufficient resources to do that, but to deal with retaliation in the event that Iran attacks us. And I think we got to make it very, very clear to the Ayatollah that we're in this to support Israel. We've been support. They're our ally with intelligence, with logistics. Obviously, a lot of the munitions they got from us. But they want us to take out this one target and make it very clear that it's still Israel's war, and we're going to take this target out. But if you attack us, then you've got us involved in the war. And our reaction to that will be very significant.
So you realize they warned us, General, not to do that because they will attack us back. You say take control of that conversation.
Make sure that they understand unequivocally, and they know what we can do, that we're going to respond. And then you brought us into the war if you do that.
So I just want to tell you that the story out today is that the president is telling his confidants, I'm worried about being another Libya, where you decapitate the regime and it becomes a terror haven. And Russia now has significant influence in Libya where maybe they didn't have it before. Is he right to worry about that?
I think they're dramatically different countries. I mean, Iran is an educated class of people. They have a vibrant middle class and obviously a fairly wealthy upper class, despite all the economic challenges they've had under this particular regime. Libya was an impoverished country and not a wildly educated country like this country is. I think there would always be a power struggle in this country that would take place. Political groups would form, and don't know what those results would be. But I think the Iranian people would have an awful lot to say about it. And they haven't had anything to say about it the last 45 years.
If you could just dry up the money going to Hamas and Hezbollah, life in the Middle East gets a lot better, especially if Iran's not a nuclear power. That's the best case scenario, but it could be actually a likely scenario. General, we're going to find out in the next few days. But again, if it was your advice and the president called you up and said, hey, General, what do you think? You would say do it? Yes,
certainly. I mean, Israel likely has plans to do this in the event we're not going to do it. But those plans, one, I'm assuming are much more at risk because it likely would involve some ground troops. And two, it not only risk to the troops, but also risk in terms of mission accomplishment.
General, you twice in 2 hours. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming down. It was great to see you.